All right, well, going once, going twice. How many of you went to the tour last night? How was it?
Very nice.
Building's big, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Especially once you get inside. All right, so we get going here because we're going to be on a tight schedule. Is that I want to introduce today's program is by the ETBF, European Champion Bowling Federation. They're one of our premier sponsors of this event, and we have two of there are top presenters. And I have Andre Durkin here on my far right, and Yuha Maya on my left, or as they call Master Yuha here, except from his wife. They're going to talk to you today about the coaching programs in ETBF. Some of you are not familiar with ETBF and what they do. That's one reason we asked them to be here, because they have a very good coaching program. And they kind of look at timing a little different than USBC. So without going into much of their time, because they want it 4 hours, and we come back to an hour and a half.
4 days.
They want it 4 days. Go ahead and get started. Okay, Yuha and Andre.
Great. Hello, everyone. It's amazing to be here, the other side of the ocean, actually. Because now, what we were thinking is, hey, the books and the videos come alive. I see so many icons here, so it's great. I'm a very young coach, actually, compared to most of you. I'm only doing it for 14 years. But I was in a lucky position that it put me in the interesting position. I became at the top of ETBF, the board of ETBF. I became the chairman of the educational committee. They gave me the responsibility of all European programs. And it was not easy, actually, for a Turkish guy and trying to handle with the all European educational programs. But we come to a point that we are very happy. And one of the reasons that we are successful is making good communication with a good team. And Yuha is one of the team. And so today we are here. We are very happy to share what we do in the other side of the ocean. And we hope you're interested in that too. So whatever you have any questions or whatever, we are happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, first of all, for me also, it's an understatement to say I'm privileged to speak here in front of all the coaching icons that are filling this room now. I spoke with my wife earlier today. She's also a professional coach. She's the director of the bowling training center in Finland. She's very typical, encouraging Finnish wife. She said, okay, good luck, don't screw up. Trying not to screw up. Okay, it's nice to be here.
Yeah. Maya says, let me know what happened. She doesn't have a clue. My friends, we are sure you are aware of the structure of our, bowling world, but ETBF is representing the European zone. So when we talk about the European zone, we are today talking about 46 countries and federations under our umbrella. So officially, ETBF, European Champion Bowling Federation, is the governing body of the European zone. So when we need to make a program for those countries, we have some issues, of course. It's not easy to focus on one nation and decide a program, because you have your culture, you have your needs, your requirements. It's much easier than try to do it to 46 countries, because we have different levels of bowling, first of all. Some federations are celebrating their 10th year, some federations are celebrating their 100 years in Europe. Different cultures, Mediterranean culture versus Nordic culture. I don't know if you ever met them, but this is your meeting them right now. But it's not easy to have it. And plus, of course, the language barrier, everybody speaks another language. So, and English is never our, main language. So we technically speak Turkish and Finnish better than English, but we'll try to do our best today. So this solution came with the same way, actually. Because we were looking for a solution, then the solution came at different levels. Because I was representing the developing countries and 10-year-old federations, and he was representing the 80-plus-year-old federation, very high-skill bowling country. We were speaking different languages and everything, but when we get sit on the table, we found out that it's not a different language, actually. It's not different cultures that much. Well, we look at the bowling, it's not that different. Even from up to up, top to down, it was quite similar. So we end up in a unified, we try to end up in a unified sport education program, and as of today, we have it. But how it started was a little bit painful because I was alone, they were not in the team yet. They told me that, hey, let's do an education program for Europe. Okay, just do it for 46 countries. We asked for help from federations, companies, and coaches first because I don't know how to start that. We only get help from two groups. One of them was the British Federation, ETBF, and USBC. Thanks to them, they sent us that information that you can use. Companies, only Kegel and Ebonite supported us in the beginning. Coaches, none of them. That was the first question. How much are you going to pay us? Technically, I was asking for help. We're not going to be paid. We were doing it for good, but the only question was that balance in our face was, how much are you going to pay? Okay, I would like to pay maybe some money to you, but what are you going to give to me? What do you offer? That was not on the table, and some coaches only asked for someone. So we didn't start with them. So with that combination, we started a base program, and we ran it for 2 years actually, and it was not bad. But then, we faced with a lot of questions and issues. We have to restart again, and the reason we restarted is things were changing. We were going to seminars, people were talking about today's game, which is different. I remember Dell in 2006 talking in Bowl Expo about the changes of versus classic style versus modern style presentation. The generation is changing. They don't have long education periods. At that time, we were offering 12 weeks of education programs. We were starting knee-down drills, making it hours and hours. People don't have time for it. We need a faster solution. It has to be much better structured, so it has to be visual, audio, and aesthetic to have better communication with the coaches plus with the students. So we have to find a solution. It has to be academically structured because we would like to have levels because we have to follow the European Union standards. We need a 5 level of education. It has to be functional for the coaches, and the most important part for us is it should be encouraging for the coaches. So they should feel, hey, I can start doing, I want to do that at the end of the class. I remember when I take my first class in 2000, when the coaches left my country, I was looking at it and said, okay, I got a lot of information, I don't know how to start. I don't know what to do. I have a big book, I have a ton of information. There is no path to follow. There is no guidance how to run, how to start. Not from scratch, not for the advanced. I have a lot of information, but there is no order that helped me. I'm not trained for it. So we think we have to find some way. It should be encouraging, coach-friendly, that the coach can use it very easily. And also it should be bowler-friendly, that whenever the coach shares something with the bowler, he could easily grab it. That was our definition of our problem in the beginning. It must be rich in media, by all means, exercises and everything, it must be fun. If that was our definition, so then we were thinking to restart it, then we got an email from Finland. They asked us to visit their coordinate training center in Finland. We said, interesting. We go, and it was like a card game. We sit on the table. That was the table. This is how we look at timing. This is how we look at timing. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. We do this way. We do this way. And at the end of the day, let's have a beer. So this is how we ended it. So, actually, it was a great program. Yuga he wrote to Finnish material, level 1, 2, and 3. Finnish Federation was so helpful to share it as a base to our program. But we didn't accept it as a total because we tell them that we need a program that should teach it from scratch. For it should fulfill the requirements of a developing country that has no bowling culture.
And also it wasn't fast.
Yes.
The Finnish level 1 is 9 days, level 2 is 12 days, and level 3 is 16 days. So it didn't fit the fast format.
Yeah, that's correct. So, Coordinate Training Center, Triathlon Bowling Academy, and Finnish Bowling Federation contact. We sit down on the table. We were all active coaches, and we start to work on that. So we end up with a package. Before we release it to the market, we have to test it. So what we did, we do it in Kortene, Ankara, Istanbul, Turkey, and Czech Republic. We tested them in all of our academies. Some exercises, we got feedbacks from the bowlers. And we test them with all new bowlers, mostly that we were focusing on how we teach bowling to the non-bowlers. That was our first idea. With these feedbacks, we also changed some exercises. We take some of them out, and we end up with very few exercises actually. But as of today, we are very happy with the development. With the last changes, we trained 532 coaches in the last 3 years, and thinking of the Europeans, population, that's a very good number. Now, 16 countries are strictly following, one-to-one following our programs. We have a recognition program since the beginning. All the countries, they were sending us our programs. We were checking them with ETBF programs, and we were giving recognition to them. What means that your program is accepted. So it's like an academic recognition program. For example, Norway is one of them. Norway, Finland, the Nordic countries are in that list. We also have technical programs. Well, we started kind of innovating. Actually, we had to do it because we are the governing body, but we are too gentle, not like the other sports institutions. We cannot say, from now on, you have to follow this. You can't do that. You have to work with the countries in cooperation that they accept it. So we slowly go into the countries, and now we have other things like that. Besides these, we run other organizations to get people together. One of them is our iCoach conferences. We started in 2011. And thanks to USBC Group, and they supported us a lot with those. They come every year. So we also have, like this organization, we do it in Europe for 2011, 2013. Next one will be in 2015. We were talking with this organization how we make it every year Europe, this United States kind of a switch. So it's a very good opportunity, because what we believe is if we don't share the information between us, if we still keep it as a secret as the old school method, some coaches never share their things like that, it's not working. We have to share, we have to input more scientific data into it, we have to make more research into that, we have to share it, and then we can grow our sport to a better level. There is no way out. So all those coaches who is in that mindset, which like you, I believe, because you're here to share and learn and discuss, that we will carry this sport up in a higher state. Otherwise, it will stay as it is right now. This is how we approach the thing. So now I would like to tell you a little bit about our coaching programs. We have 3 levels, my friends. Level 1, level 2, level 3. Officially, European Union asks from every government they should have 5 levels. But this is very hard to fill with bowling information actually. We're not compared to basketball, football, the other sports. It's not easy to fill 5 levels, but we're working on it. We're trying to do that.
And also there's one standard in European Union is that the first 3 levels should be sport-specific education. And the level 4 and 5 are more like general coaching information. For example, in Finland we have level 4, which is 1.5-year education. It's called professional coaching degree. And then we have the level 5 is the Master of Sports Science, which is it takes, I think, minimum 7 years, and you graduate as Master of Sports Science, but your major have to be coaching. So level 5 is quite long education already.
So we just updated our program 2013 and 12 and 13, still updating this summer. All of our pedagogy part is changing, for example. So we are almost updating. Like, for example, topography issues were released, the lane mapping and other issues were released just by Kegel a couple of years ago. Now we just embedded, we got information from them and embedded immediately into our programs like that. So everything we put them has a reference to whatever we get it. We don't act it, it's like our invention. So we try to be as updated as possible because our system allows us to do that. One of the things is our level 1 is a 4-day program. It's about 30 hours. Our level 2 is 4 days, 40 hours. When it comes to our level 3 program, it's a 6-day package and it's about 60 hours. So officially it's about 10 hours per day, not very easy. We would like them longer, but we couldn't get coaches that long. out from their jobs and etc. You know, it would be more humanized. This is a little bit tough to follow actually. But one important case here is all levels are prerequisite to each other. So if you want to go to level 2, you have to complete level 1. If you want to go to level 3, you have to complete level 3. And completion is not limited. It's not limited with only getting into the program. Whenever you enter any ETBF educational program, you only get one certificate. It is the certificate of participation. You are not officially certified. There is one way to do that. You have to practice about that. But the level structure is like that. Whatever you have in level 1, we increase it in level 2. For example, let's talk about swing. If we talk about swing in 1 hour in level 1, we increase it 1.5, 2 hours or something in level 2. And we almost talk about half a day or 1 day, in 1 day in level 3. So as the program gets longer, we get more information about that, but there is no chance to jump into the level 3. It will be very difficult to follow what we're saying because it's all based on our layer system. So we call it layered education. So you got the level 1, you practice it, you have an idea, you have an experience, you come to level 2. With your experience now, you debate on that thing, you discuss the thing, you learn new stuff. With that experience, you carry that information to level 3. So in our level 3 is mostly based on discussions actually. You guys giving a presentation, then it's open floor, everybody can discuss, but they need an experience to discuss, of course. They need students, they need videos of them, and this is how it works right now. And the key is, if you want to go a level 3 coach, you have to complete 150 hours of practice on the lanes. For going to level 3, you have to practice at least 200 hours. That should be signed and improved by your federation or your level 3 coach. So that we have a system like that. Is it the best system? Not. Does it help? Yes. Because at least when we come to level 2, which is our most focused group, because we assume if a bowler comes to level 2, now we got the guy, they want to continue. This is our guy who wants to continue coaching. We would like them to have students. We would like them to have bowlers to train. So then we can talk about the real data. They show us their videos, they explain us what they're doing, so we all talk about it. So they have problems, then we can discuss and help them. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. They just come to, we call them certification coaches. Certification, certification, certification. Did you coach? No, but I have all certificates. Bravo. So the problem is, there are some coaches in the market, you kill yourself on the lanes, hours and hours, trying to be better coaches. You come here, you spend money and everything. At the end of the day, both of you have the same certificates. You're not the same coach. So we want to differentiate it. So this is why we give the certificate of participation to the people, but certify them after at least some practice time. So this is our practice. That is the idea we love actually. We call them the bowler of the future. In our programs, we have a definition of a good shot, a good bowler. Does he or she exist? Not too much actually. We see let's say 80% of them in the bowlers. But this is our approach, my friend. If you think about the other sports in the past, like you guys know Mark Spitz probably, or Sergei Bubka, if all of us look what they did, we analyze their videos and teach everybody like what they do, we would stay in their speed or their height right now. But now today, the swimmers swim faster, the people jump higher.
No, they don't. They will jump higher.
Okay, they broke the record. What was the record?
Okay, indoors. Yeah.
So, they run and swim
They
faster.
run and swim faster.
So, we like that idea, my friends. So, okay, let's analyze the top bowlers of our time. So, how can we create better bowlers for the future? What's the secret? So, it is not necessarily if we analyze today's bowler, we have to understand what makes them successful, but we also understand what additions we can make to those training programs that we can carry them forward. Then we decided to look at some other specifications, like the bowlers who practice all week long and compete every tournament they like the Asian bowlers, like Koreans and other things, those bowlers, they practice 4 or 5 days a week, they go to gym, they compete every tournament they find, and they look healthy and good. So what makes them like that? Or we go to the area championship and we look at the bowlers who jump very quickly to a better level. Hey, 2 years ago, he wasn't having a good timing. Look, he's playing the Masters now. What changed in this bowler? So we shot the video. So we try to go every ETBF championship, European Bowling Tour stops, and WTBA championships, and we are shooting videos continuously, and we are making research on them. We compete bowlers with the modern techniques. We compete the people in the Masters every year. What had changed in those bowlers? What made them? We talk with their coaches. So we try to make a definition of what makes them good, how they became that quickly that good, what makes them, and how can they repeat that success. So we try to find out the solution.
Personally, I think the key thing here is not only copy today's bowlers. I travel all around Europe. Europe, I coach about 500, approximately 500 bowlers per year, and I see at least 10 kids every single year who look 100% like Mike Fagan. Mike Fagan's style. They don't have Mike Fagan's technique, but they've been watching YouTube day after day after day. They have copied Mike Fagan's style. Do they have the same body structure as Mike Fagan? No. Do they have the same physical abilities as Mike Fagan? No, absolutely not. But they want to look just like Mike Fagan. Well, it works for Mike Fagan pretty well. Not for these kids.
This is a big problem of YouTube issue. We're facing it a lot. Like Dallas, YouTube is dangerous. You have to follow the Turkish government to close the YouTube. It's good.
Not only YouTube.
And another good idea is when we're working on this picture of bowlers, of course, these gentlemen is what they live in an Olympic training center, so that makes a difference, of course. They have a lot of Olympic sports coaches, seminars, and everything. So we try to get as much as input from their group, because their coaches are also bowling in the bowling center, and they communicate continuously. So we make some changes. They don't. We make some changes accordingly. My friends, we have a group of exercises. In level 1 and level 2, we almost have 8 simple exercises. We use the same exercises for teaching bowling. We use the same exercises for advanced bowlers as well. The only thing we change is the way we focus on the exercise. So in our programs, if a bowler learns one of those exercises, they can repeat it all their lives. They are simple exercises, not different from what you did before. Some of them looks like our, every other program's exercises. There is only one idea, a little bit different, is we try to do all exercises in the real time. So for example, if you're going to make a 1-step exercise, you would like them to walk 5 steps and stop on the 4th step. They have to tell us, what is their position now, where is the ball, how is your body angle, what you do, and we try to do every exercise in real-time simulation position. That's what we're after. So we're not practicing like this and try to do it like this in the game. We force them to do that actually. When we go to level 2, we little bit support a bit more release exercises and side exercises or problem-solving exercises. If they have problems with starting the game or they have left arm issues, we have extra side exercises for them. Level 3, we don't focus on too much about teaching people almost on the lanes about ball motion, ball reaction, other things like that. So, and coaching, yeah. If you enter any of the ETBF programs, if you want to finish that program, if you're in level 1, you have to present one topic in level 1. You have to get in front of the coaches, you have to present one of the issues, so everybody analyzes you and they talk about how you present it. So before you finish the class, you start to do coaching. If you come to level 2, at the end of level 2, we have something called professional practice, which is 1 hour practice with one person. So we have buddies, 2 people. Everybody is like, you got a phone call last night, some people will come to take a class from you yesterday and you have 1 hour. That's the problem. So you introduce yourself, start from you introducing yourself, ask them what they want. They start to make a 1-hour class. They should use videos and everything. And the requirement is they have to make one change in their game. We have to see it in their videos before and after. Not permanently, of course, but that change that can motivate that bowler or your student for the future practices. And at the end of the 1-hour classes, we come together. Every coach puts the video on the screen, tell them about their stories. The student tells about what they experienced, and all the classes debates about it. We discuss, I would do it this way, I would do it that way, I would approach it that way, like that. So it's like, you heard the multiple voices, you heard it much in a greater area. Everybody has their ideas. As our levels get higher, we have more instructors. For example, if you got to level 1, you get it from me or you or one of our coaches. If you get to level 2, we usually try to do it with 2 or 3 coaches. If you go to level 3, we got at least 5 instructors. Everybody's expert on their fields. If you talk about bowls, for example, the first year was with Rich Hansen from Ebonite. Last year was Dell was there introducing about bowling balls. If you talk about, let's say, presentation techniques, it's my profession. That's what I was teaching in university, visual graphics, arts, and etc. So this is how it goes. For the fitness part, we ask the people from the court and they can help us. Second of all, that's our most European part. we have to be digitally green, so we don't print out anymore. We have very, very few prints. So all of our material is in PowerPoints. That is not, of course, only for being green, it's also for the coaches to make the life easy for them. They can get the PowerPoint, translate it easily, get it into pieces, use them in their classes. We don't have a version of instructor version, student version, everything is one package. So in our pages, they can easily, if they need printed and give it to their students, like spare systems or something like that, they can use it as it is. But we try to be functional and easy to update, of course.
This is the part I hate the most.
Update?
Yeah. The green part, because Finland is the biggest producer of paper in the world.
So, one of the changes we made in our teachings, my friends, is the way we teach it. For many years, almost every education program in Europe, and I think in the world, of course, we were teaching it from full line to the back. So it was called as gnilbop in Europe, actually, like the opposite way of bowling. It was very popular, it was revolutionary, and we all teach it for many years like that. Then because of the coaches in Cortland, they changed it from beginning to the end. Now that was a big change in our training because they learn it faster. I don't know the reason for that, but they immediately learn it faster. Instead of teaching it, whole line, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, we just start from here and go to the whole line. Okay, for example, if you have a 1-step drill, we still have the 1-step drill. But the way we do it is different. We start from the stance, come to the 4th step, stop and do the drill. So every time we want the bowlers to feel the process, they feel the flow of their motions. So every time we ask them to process everything in their brains, we continuously make a one-to-one communication. Where is your foot now? Where is your body position? Where is your arm? Where is your hand? Those questions are letting them do the exercises with their brains, not like, 100 hours of swinging their hands. They process in the brains, which is actually, we try to generate the muscle memory with them.
This actually came, okay, in Finland we have been using this, what we call chronological order, already for over 20 years. I think it was 1993, 1994, where we actually already started to use only this way. I spoke, in Portland we have 24 different sports, which we actually have 24 coaches from, national team coaches from 24 different sports working in the Olympic Training Center. We have coaches meeting among all the coaches quite often, and any other sport don't use this backward system. Every other sport also uses the way that they teach from start to finish. Imagine you go into golf lesson. The pro tells you, okay, now let's put the ball close to the hole, and now let's putt away from the hole first. Then take a club, chip it a bit further. Okay, now let's take your 7-iron. Now 7-iron, okay, now it's time for a driver. And now the last club you use is the driver, and you try to hit the ball back to the tee.
Interesting.
All of our logic is based on one concept. We have a one concept that is our, what we call holistic thing. We all have tattoos about it, okay? So that is what we call ETT, everything towards the target. We die for it, we kill for it. Okay? We're so serious about it. So, what is ETT is actually, it's shaped with three main movements. Walk to the target, swing to the target, release to the target. And do whatever is required for them. Most of our coaching classes are usually, we try to prevent them to block doing those things. They put their foot over their swing so they couldn't swing it. They last minute, their ball is here, their body is here, they have no place to release it to the target. So most of the time we are trying to get rid of these blocks out of the way. Let them have a free swing to the target. And how can we manage to do that? Remember the future of ball with thing.
I have two good friends, unfortunately both of them are not here anymore. I try to follow their guidelines. The friends are called Mr. Newton and Mr. Einstein. And they would be pretty damn good bowling coaches actually. And whatever we do, we try not to fight against their principles. There are a few things. Gravity, Mr. Newton, okay, he wasn't the sharpest pencil in the box because he needed to have an apple on his head before he figured it out. Then again, Mr. Newton was a pretty smart guy. He told me one thing about when we all speak about the swing. He told me once, sent me an email that he figured out that changing direction of a moving object requires energy. That was good, okay. I was thinking, put it straight back to falling. Okay, what is the only source of energy? We can actually have to change the direction of the moving object. Well, that's muscles. Okay. Maybe we should swing the ball straight then. Not to make it go all over the place. But we'll get back to that later.
Yep. So everything towards the target, when we talk about the target is our line, the intended line of swing. So this is the line. Whatever the line is, we walk to the target. Inside line, we walk to the target. So it's not, we don't mean go straight to the foul line, we just walk to the target, however we can do that. Alright? So, for the ETT principle, we approach the teaching of bowling plus the analysis system. This is our analysis system also. We focus on swing, timing, steps, and body angles in a shot. How can we get these things together to allow us to do this ETT concept, to follow the ETT concept? So the first idea is how we teach it. This is another something that we are not very similar to other programs. We never start with the, with walking or something like that. Our teaching programs start with the swing. We teach everybody swing first, how to swing the ball, to understand the correct swing feeling, which I will come in very soon. So when people understand how to make the swing, that also follows them to understand the body angles and everything that is required for making the swing. Then we start teaching them timing and steps that supports that procedure. That is one of the things that seriously speed up the process. Because if they walk in a bad way, it is so hard for them to teach with a bad structure how to make a correct swing. But first, if you teach them how to make the correct swing, it's so easy to convince them to support it with the right walking path and an easier timing. Because now, this is what they want to do, swinging the ball. And if you tell them, hey, if you put your step here, you cannot do that. Or if you are one step late timing, you will block your swing. They, oh yeah, I got the idea, so I'm not trying. So convincing the mind is our key for a faster speed training. This is how we do that. We try to convince them continuously for the reason for it. So after the swing, we go timing, we go steps, we go body angles, we explain them what's going on over there. We use our exercises to teach them better. But before the swing, I'm talking about the new beginner bowler right now. Without the swing, we don't start anything. So that's our flow of the thing. When we talk about swing, we literally follow what swing is.
Mr. Newton.
My friends, in a regular swing, The swinging object reaches its the fastest speed at the bottom of the swing, then slows down and accelerates again, fastest and slow down again. So we are looking after that swing because that swing is done by the gravity. Of course, we have our arms, we have our muscles and everything. We try to make it as free as possible. We try to make it as effortless as possible. We are not going to say super free swing. We know that we have muscles and bones, but we see the samples. People can do that. For example, this shot for us is not a comfortable swing. We see a lot of muscle in here. We see uncomfortable. When you look at here, we see a much easier swing motion with less effort, and we see a more potential of power in that game compared to that. And that change, my friend, done in half an hour. She practiced half an hour. This is the next day video when she came. So the body accepts it much easily because it's a more natural movement, which you will talk about it later. Or remember, we talk about the ones who repeat that all day long, all night long. These are World Youth Championship, Korean and Singapore bowlers. You can see how wonderful their swings are. How they make it look easy. That's what we're after, actually. We are looking for a shot that looks easy. So this is one of the things we are so swing oriented actually, and we are much like the Asian approach with that because they're holistic about swing exercises. They're so much swinging. The another idea about swing is most of the time when we look at the swing, we all focus on this area. We are continuously trying to do it with two arms. For us, swing is a two-arm issue. You need two arms for a good swing. If you don't have this arm, that swing has issues. Why? Because if the left arm is at the back at the same time, and if you're not from the Asian zone, which they have enormous flexibility, that means you have tension on your back. All muscles are tense. That creates an elastic tension that allows you to get it back immediately. When you got the tension, it wants to come back. So you cannot have the correct swing motion if your two arms are at the back, besides you have sore muscles all day long. This is one of the things. Most of the people. Tension-free is not only related, of course, with what the back muscles. Tension-free is also related with what we approach for the spine. If this is my spine, we like to do its natural movement. The most natural movement of our spine is that. Not this. This is not a natural movement for our spine. That puts excess stress on our spine. This wants to go back immediately. So any coaching methodology that offers us to make our spine like that, we fight against that. Maybe you know what we're talking about.
You don't need to do anything more than Google lumbar spine tilt injury.
So this is our idea. This is our spine. Okay. So during our game, what we try is to, even we have a bending motion, if you have a body angle, we try to do it aligned with our hips, so that keeps our spine straight.
So the hips and shoulders are all the time perpendicular to the spine.
So we are trying to protect this for the youth, for the adult, especially for the adult. How many people have back issues? I'm sure this class has know about that. This is the reason I quit bowling. I couldn't bowl because of my back issues. So we are holistically trying to save this spine. Whatever I do, I try to do naturally. So if I need a body angle, if I have my body angle, I just lean forward. I keep my spine like that. If I rotate my spine like that, which is actually this, if my hip goes forward and if I pull it back, this is what it is, it wants to come back immediately and it creates problems. And my friends, you have one chance to injure yourself with the spines. If you have any spine problems, if you injure it once, you're gone. It's done. So, tension-free for the swing, muscles, and the spine. We try to keep it straight, comfortable, with no problems. This is why, in most of the issues, whenever we make our exercises, they feel more comfortable. And we don't like a very high swing also. We're not in favor because we don't want excess usage of joints because they can end up with injuries again. When we come to body angles, there is one motto we call the third step. Third step is the third step of 5-step approach, where we get our body angle, because according to our research, we find that most of the bowlers, the angle they got on their third step is almost same on their final position. Maybe maximum 3, 5, 8 degrees difference, and most of them are almost same. So things, they call it release position actually. So in the third step, if we got our position good, everything else usually is good. So 1 to 3, get the release position, lower it down, slide it to the forward.
Maintain the spine angle all the way to the release.
We make a research about steps, and according to that research, we find out that it's about 150 bowlers of top EBT players, American players, PBA players, Asian ranking players, South American players. We found out that 81% is using 5-step approach, 13% is more than 5-step, and only 6% is using top bowlers are around 4-step approach. So we take out the 4-step approach, we don't teach it anymore. Because now if everybody is using 5-step approach, why our education programs is 4-step approach? We don't do it anymore. We're on 5-step. This is what we're doing. Plus, what we're teaching is, if you start with the 4-step approach, you have more issues because 5-step makes it much easier to get the timing in the correct position and body in the correct position. So we follow a 5-step approach with 3-channel concept. 3-channel is very simple. This is our target line. This is where the ball stands. This is where the ball in the pole line. So we stand for this pole. This channel, right channel, is reserved for the bowling swing and bowling ball. Nothing must